I'm a Liberal Democrat. I'm also the Vice Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Fair Elections and a co-sponsor of this debate today. And it is a genuine delight to see members on both sides of the House talking about this issue, which is one of the founding principles of my party. I believe firmly, though, that we're only going to bring about the change that our country needs on a cross-party basis, which is why working with the member for Leeds Central and Headingley, who opened our debate today, and also the member for North Herefordshire, is an absolute delight on the APPG, and I look forward to working with them to deliver the change that we need. Because the case for electoral reform is urgent and undeniable. First past the post is a system that no longer functions as a fair or effective mechanism for translating the will of the electorate into parliamentary representation. It is collapsing under its own weight, and the time has come to take the first step in addressing this failure with the establishment of a National Commission for Electoral Reform. As colleagues have mentioned across the House, the 2024 general election was the most distorted in British history. Labour secured 63% of the seats with just 34% of the vote, while the Green Party and Reform UK won almost 21% of the vote between them and received only 9 seats. Now, I'm going to disagree with both parties often and vigorously on different issues, but I defend their right to be represented when a number of people vote for them. These results do not constitute fair representation. They represent a systemic failure. The consequences of such an electoral mess are huge. The Electoral Reform Society has shown that 58% of those who voted in 2024 ended up with an MP they didn't vote for, and 85% of MPs were elected with under 50% of the vote, myself included. It now takes, as others have mentioned, 24,000 votes to elect a Labour MP, but 824,000 votes to elect a Reform UK MP. Broader trends confirm the growing inadequacy of first past the post. According to the IPPR, voter turnout has fallen from 84% in 1950 to below 60% in 2024. Trust in politics is at an all-time low, and a system that continues to distort electoral outcomes so significantly will only worsen this crisis. With pleasure.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. Trust is so important in politics. We all know that, we recognise that, and we are responsible for building that trust. One way we build trust is being accountable, and the system we have at the moment gives us accountability to our constituents within the defined area, our constituency. How would First Past the Post help build that accountability of a named person, a single MP, to that defined area?
Well, I'm very grateful to the Honourable Lady for intervening. I think her question was probably how would PR deliver accountability, not how would First Past the Post deliver accountability. But I very much agree with her that accountability and that constituency link is really, really important. I'm really glad that this debate hasn't nerded out excessively on which is our favourite form of PR, but there are many systems operating indeed within the United Kingdom in the different nations that deliver that constituency link. I very much agree with her that that's an important part of our democracy. PR provides a clear alternative to what we're currently doing. It ensures that seats broadly match votes, that every voter has a meaningful say, and that governments represent the majority of the electorate. And we already have proportional representation in the UK, just not here in Westminster. In Scotland's Parliament, 93% of voters have at least one representative they voted for. And in Westminster, that figure stands at just 42%, according to the Electoral Reform Society. PR is already used in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland in different forms, as well as in the vast majority of democracies worldwide. So why not here? Evidence shows that PR leads to higher voter turnout, more representative governments and more stable policy making. And for a long time, the question of electoral reform has been viewed as an abstract debate, indeed with people arguing over the DeHont versus STV, rather than one being integral to democratic legitimacy. It's neither sustainable nor responsible to continue governing under a system where a party can form a large majority on barely a third of the vote. It is reckless to maintain an electoral model that so consistently produces such wildly disproportionate groups of MPs and leaves millions of voters feeling ignored. And if these trends are allowed to continue, it's not difficult to see how turnout will fall further, results will become even more distorted, and political instability will grow. Now, I'm a Lib Dem, as I outed myself earlier, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I enjoy speaking with and listening to voters. I'm also a fan of a bar chart on my leaflets. But wouldn't it be I'm delighted to report to the honourable member that my bar charts have been measured and are accurate to the millimetre. But wouldn't it be a joy for all of us? I would be delighted to give way on the subject.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank the honourable lady for giving way. Would she accept that one of the great advantages of moving to a proportional voting system is that there would be no need to put any bar charts on any leaflets, and it would be highly misleading to put them there, and there would be no two-horse race graphics, and there would be no squeeze messaging, and everyone would be able to vote for the party they really wanted to.
I couldn't have been more delighted to have welcomed the honourable gentleman's intervention, and I wonder if actually he's been listening in to the Hazel Grove constituency Liberal Democrat executive meetings. I agree with him, though, that I'd much prefer, and I imagine a number of voters, when thinking about how to vote, would much rather talk about values and principles and policies rather than a rather grim-looking canvasser pointing earnestly at a bar chart, worried about who might get in if the vote splits. PR would be better for our politics and better for our communities. Madam Deputy Speaker, there is widespread and growing support for change, both here in Parliament and across the country. A National Commission for Electoral Reform would provide the necessary first step towards finally addressing the failures of first past the post. A step that must be taken well before the next general election, because to ignore the urgency of this issue would be to further undermine our democracy. Now, governments aren't always known for doing things that they don't see as being in their best interest, but I would argue, and a number of colleagues across the House would argue, that this is in our whole country's interest, and that's why I urge the government to ask. The public is watching, and the demand for fair representation cannot be ignored forever. Our democracy depends on it.
Oh.